Sheila Rivest is my sister. We have 5 children in the family. Carol is the third of the 5 of us. I am the youngest. There was Kim, Kathy, Carol, Robbie, and I'm Sheila. Carol was the middle child who was our protector. For Robbie and I, she was our older sister, so she would protect us and very proud of us. If my mother being busy with 5 children, if I needed my hair done for my first communion, Carol would do that. So she was a very caring sibling. And she was also a very caring daughter to my parents and, would help my mother in various ways. But Carol, when she was 17, she got into a relationship with a man, Matt, from school. He had the nice car, he was handsome, he had the charisma and a nice personality. So Carol started dating Matt for several months, and as the months went by, he became a little more aggressive towards her. Our family, not knowing that Matt even lived at our house for a year to finish school, they did have a long-term relationship. Carol did start to express to me that Matt was becoming abusive. Just ahead, some jealousy, it started off slowly, quietly, discreetly, and not really knowing what she was getting herself into. Carol and Matt, when they were 19, became parents. They had a son together, and Matt's violence became more assertive more often, and his jealousy and the control became increasing. By the time Carol was 22, she had broken off with Matt various times. She would have the domestic violence cycle where she would break up with Matt. He would, say, oh, I'm going to go to counseling, I'm going to do this. And she did not want to break up her family, being a young mother with a young son. She also had some insecurities, and she decided that, she would stay with him and try to get help and go to counseling. They tried that several times, which it did not work. She also went to a battered women's shelter one time with her son, but back in the 80s, the shelters were not run as well as they are now, and it was just too much for her. At the age of 22, Carol was murdered by Matt after years of being in it's a 5-year domestic violent relationship where she did go, she would leave him for months at a time. And in this time, it was May 11th, 1982, she was away from Matt and they were broken up. He was dating someone else. She was going to start dating someone else. She also was going to go back to school. She wanted to go to college to be an administrative assistant. And he took her life. He shot her on May 11th, 1982. And he was then put in jail. Matt went to jail, but before going to jail, he did sign over his rights to his son, because I know a lot of people ask what happened to his son, but my parents raised his son as his own. For many of the family, it was very hard. We had to live with the tragedy of losing Carol, but we also had to live with the fact it was his choice. Like, one person made a choice one day that her life will end. We couldn't imagine how many people did step forward and, showed their love and, guidance and helping us with anything we needed. There was counselors saying they would help with her son. But the society and the portrayal of the victim, I think, is the hardest part. Asking why did they stay? Why, why didn't she leave him? There's various questions that a family of the victims get asked. And for me, being, Carol was my savior. Carol was my best friend. I was 18, she was 22. So at 18, I didn't know what to do with my life. So I did the drinking, the partying, and when I did the drinking and the partying, I did the crying. So it was hard where friends didn't really want to be around me much, and so I had to learn how to cope, how to grieve. My mother didn't really have time to grieve because she had to take care of Carol's 3-year-old son, and my parents just dove right into taking care of him and not getting their grieving in, the appropriate grieving. My brother became a mime, so he went off to Paris because he said, I'm going to do whatever I want to do with my life. Life is so short. And Kathy stayed in Connecticut and found put herself into her work. My sister Kim was out in Germany, and she had to cope with it her own way. I decided to, years later, I decided to become an advocate, and now I currently am a guest speaker for the Hampden County Sheriff's Department, and I speak with inmates, and hopefully I can reach some inmates before they became a MAT, before they take that violence one step further. I would hate to see any other family go through what we went through. Well, there's various, the women must like it. The women stay because they are alive. They stay because that's the only way they can survive and that they will live. Financial reasons, they feel like there's no support for themselves, and they have no money to go anywhere, so they stay. And one big thing is the perpetrators manipulate the victims into feeling that they have no one else, because most of the time they have isolated them from their friends, they have isolated them from their family, and they feel he is all they have. The perpetrator will be like, no one will want you, you're ugly, you're lazy. I remember Carol several times coming to me, I need a pep talk. I'm like, you are beautiful, you're smart. She was so funny, she had dimples to light up a room, and she didn't know that. This affects many women, educated women, poor women, rich women, beautiful women. It has no boundaries. It has, it doesn't matter who you are, you can be susceptible. And I know one thing I had mentioned was, yes, Carol did grow up, she did have some insecurities, and then when you're with the perpetrator, their insecurities become heightened. And, an insecure woman does not deserve to die, does not deserve to get murdered. I wanted to reach out. First, I started talking to the correctional officers at Ludlow, and I said, okay, if you have a person that comes in and he's sentenced, but has an alcohol problem, but you know that he has a history of violence, to make sure that they're in the right programs. And I do talk about victims' impact, because some people are not, don't have empathy for the survivors. And this is a long haul for us. It'll be 33 years, May 11th. And each time Matt gets arrested, and each time they put it in the paper, man who murdered girlfriend in 1982, rearrested. He only served 8 years. So I wish for Matt as well, if he was when he is in jail, that he gets the right programs, that he gets the right help. When he gets out of jail, he ends up going back in for violence. So he's a repeat offender of violent crimes. So when I was talking to the correctional officers, that's what I was trying to get across, that, what I would hope for. Now I talk to the inmates, which I feel is more beneficial. I have had men come to me after, because they are allowed to ask me questions, and they say, I could be Matt, and you talking to you has saved me. And I've had different men who've come up and say, you know, it's my choice to come listen to you again. Some have seen me 3 times, but they like my message. And they listen to my story. My story is not always, I don't put it out there the same. It's the same message though, that there's so much life out there. There's so much life for them instead of anger. There's other choices. You know, go for a walk, go get help. Therapy is not something to frown upon. And as you know, I'm a behavioral health nurse, so I'm all about, you know, getting help for mental health as well. But not every perpetrator has a mental health issue, but it is common. Oh, several times. I have seen them cry. I have cried. I usually cry during that. And we do have men and women in there. I do a lot of speaking at Howard Street, MPACT, and it serves women and men. And you know, I would like to reach more out to the women as well, because I feel I can help by telling Carol's story. Carol was a victim of domestic violence, but did not have your typical, she didn't come home with black eyes. She didn't have broken bones. She did have a broken ego, a broken spirit, and a broken soul. Well, I chose 2 shelters for my event because I'm originally from Enfield, and where my sister was murdered was Enfield. So I am going to donate towards the Enfield, the Network Against Domestic Violence in Enfield. And I've lived in Western Mass now for 26 years. So Western Mass is my home. And I do a lot of work and guest speaking with Western Mass. So I also chose the Women's Shelter Campaneras in Holyoke because they often need financial support as well. May 9th, 141 East Hill Road in Munson. It's from 2 to 8, $20 per ticket, and you get food, beer, live entertainment, raffle prizes, activities for the kids. It is a family event. Noah lists from The Voice, like I said, and let's do this. Great, great entertainment. They can reach me at sheilariv@hotmail.com. If they know Angela Delacroce, she's selling some, Lindsay Ragno. Also, we are collecting donations, items, new items for the shelters. They can use shampoo, soaps, toothpaste, towels, new towels, toys for the kids, gift cards to Dunkin' Donuts, gas cards, several household items that are not used, that are brand new. The Women's Shelter will accept that as well.